ahead and get started, jump in. Welcome. It's great to see a lot of familiar names as well as quite a few new ones. So this is yet another webinar in our partnership series. And in case you don't know, I'm Cara Pryor, president of James Publishing and founder of our Marketing Amplifier program. We have a really great guest with us today, and we're covering a pretty critical topic today. So I want to introduce you to Kelsey Johnson. Hey, Kelsey.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Yeah, so Kelsey is the product marketing manager at Smith.ai, a legal tech expert focused on helping lawyers with their practices through tech-enabled operations, integrated systems, digital marketing, and of course, communications. We really love partnering with Smith.ai. We have done quite a bit in the past. And today, Kelsey's going to talk specifically about how to convert more of those prospects into high quality clients, right? Because you likely hear all the time, more leads, more leads, more leads. How do you pour your money and resources into kind of generating more leads for your firm? But you know, the thing is, you're likely sort of, you might be throwing your money away and really wasting your time kind of chasing unqualified prospects, or, you know, where is that true opportunity, right? The true opportunity might actually, that low-hanging fruit might actually be focusing on converting more of those leads that are coming from your current marketing efforts. So I just think this is such a spot on topic, something that I talk to attorneys about all the time. So Kelsey, I'm sure you hear all the time, you know, I'm getting all these leads, I'm paying for all these leads, but you know, I'm just not getting the client flow. What are you hearing?
Absolutely. I mean, marketing is expensive and it feels like a necessary and also a superfluous, an unnecessary and also the last thing that you want to spend your money on, right? It's like, I have to do this to bring in new business, but also it's so expensive. I don't know it's working. You know, I've got this agency, they're really great, or I have this marketer, or we're doing stuff in-house and it's really great, but like, I still feel like I'm, you know, spending a lot of money. I'm maybe seeing a certain number of leads and I'm just not turning them into business. Like, where's the business coming from? And, you know, I've been working, I was telling Cara, before this, I used to work for Legal Talk Network. So, you know, I have heard a lot of tips from the podcast network, from, you know, lawyers that I've worked with and worked for over the years. And I understand, like, there are so many factors here, right? There are so many ways that you can up your marketing. There's so many tips and tricks, or, you know, do this for your, you know, to generate more leads. But what I'm going to talk about today is just a couple, you know, just a couple of really actionable things that you can do today to start getting more of those leads converted into actual clients. Now, these are things that are affordable. These are things that are easy to implement. These are things that you can do without spending extra on your marketing. And then when you do invest more in your marketing, you are actually going to see more of that return. And so, you know, it's something that I think every business struggles with. I think that small businesses particularly struggle with it because there is that sort of limited budget. So where do I spend it? Do I spend it on more marketing? Do I spend it going to conferences? You know, how am I spending my money? And also, as lawyers, how am I spending my time? Because your time is money. It is very, very valuable. So what is it that's worth it for you to be doing? And what is it, you know, that you can automate? What can you outsource? What can you stop doing because it's not making you any more money? And so that's what I'm going to sort of dive into today. I'm going to bring up my slides really quickly here.
While you do that, Kelsey, I think something to really highlight that you said that's super critical is we're talking about getting more from your current marketing efforts. In other words, you know, we're not talking about pouring more money into, you know, generating more leads. So that's really critical to understand. And that's why, you know, much of what Kelsey's going to share today can be implemented so easily and so seamlessly, right? It's just about taking advantage of what you're already doing and kind of making the most of it. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. Would you, Cara, really quickly enable my screen sharing here? And while you do that, I'm just gonna let everyone know I have a lot of people who come to my webinars, and I often dive into the benefits of Smith.ai immediately. And that's not what I'm gonna do today. I am today going to dive into some of the things that you can use alongside the Smith.ai services and that are going to be useful in their own right, that might be some things that you haven't heard about before, haven't heard from me before, things that I've done in the past. I, have also worked for a marketing agency in the past. These are some things that you can do to sort of boost the marketing that you're already doing. The other thing that I'm really going to mention just at the top is that Smith.ai has a really exciting new feature that we've just launched, which is our Zapier integration is now public. Now, if you know what Zapier is already, you know that this is a pretty awesome deal, and you can sort of integrate our services with a bunch of new stuff. If you don't know, I'm going to talk a little bit about Zapier actually later in this webinar, so that I can go over some of the cool things that can be automated either with your Smith.ai services or just separate from that as well. So my name is Kelsey Johnson. I'm the product marketing manager at Smith.ai, as Cara mentioned. Smith.ai is a virtual receptionist service for calls, chats, text messages, and Facebook messages. We answer 24/7. We can do a lot of stuff on top of just answering calls and chats, like lead qualification, scheduling, payments. We integrate with a lot of CRMs as well as Zapier, as I mentioned, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have about Smith.ai at the end. Again, I'm not going to go super into our specific services this hour. I am also not very, very passionate about tech-enabled operations for small businesses, for small law firms, getting you the sort of setups that you need for your workflows that are automated or that are outsourced, getting you to sort of set up things once and really see the return on your investment of that time, in that you don't have to keep doing the same thing over and over. There's tons of these options out there that are incredibly affordable. And so I'm very passionate about finding these solutions for law firms particularly, but also just generally small businesses. Today we're going to cover the law firm's lead funnel, the way that it looks probably to you, and then the way that it looks to me as a marketer. 8 ways to capture new leads from your existing marketing. Using lead magnets to capture contact information from your content. I'll go into what a lead magnet is, how you can use it as a law firm, why you don't even need to know the term in order to be using this to capture more contact information. Lead nurturing, which is something, again, marketers love to talk about this. I have not met a small business owner who's like, oh yeah, lead nurturing. So I'm going to kind of uncover what that is and how you can get it set up and use it to, generate more actual converted clients from your leads. How to be prepared in order to convert a client the moment they're ready, because that's really essential. And then a couple of just automated workflows that you can get started on so that you don't have to sort of take on all of this work manually. So this is our lead funnel as the way that almost every small business owner I've ever met thinks of it, right? I do marketing and then I get clients. And it's a little bit more complicated than this, especially in the way that we as marketers think about it, because there is this entire process underneath this arrow that I've put up on the screen that's basically sales, right? And as lawyers, we call it intake. But it's not just intake, because intake is taking in information, and there's a whole conversion process that's in play after the marketing, but before somebody becomes a retained client, that that it's just really important to unpack that and optimize it and make sure that you're putting together these processes for your firm to get more from this marketing that you're doing in the first place. So here is my little circle that I put together. These often look really different, but it is really a circle, and it's something that you need to pay attention to throughout the entire process after marketing, right? So your lead comes in through the marketing funnel, that might be Google My Business, that might be referrals, that might be on your website, it might be through advertising or lots of other marketing tactics. Somebody has found your business, they've found your law firm, they potentially need a lawyer, but there's a whole lot more to it at that point. So in this ideal world, somebody needs a lawyer. We, shoot them down to the booked consultation, skip the nurturing and client research. They call up your business, you answer the phone, you make sure that, they need the practice area that you offer, and then you book them with a consultation, and then you go on through the circle. But a lot of times, and with a lot of practice areas, especially, if you're not in personal injury, but in, many, many other practice areas, there's this whole process of nurturing your lead, right? Keeping in contact with them, capturing, first of all, before you even nurture, capturing their information, keeping in contact with them, making sure that they know that you still know they exist and that you're able to help them, offering them more information about the ways in which you are able to help them, and keeping your firm top of mind so that when they go to make that decision on who to bring on as a client, you're just everywhere, right? They just can't, they have to make an active choice to choose one of your competitors over you. And nurturing, I'm going to talk about a little bit later, but this is something that can be set up completely automated. This is not something where a lead comes in, you grab their contact information, and you have to then all of a sudden spend, an hour a day calling everybody or emailing everybody manually. This is something that you can definitely do yourself. And automate it, create an entire process, make sure it looks great, and then press play, and it just sort of takes off. Client research is something that is happening sort of at the same time as nurturing, in that your client, your prospective client is actually going out there and seeing how you compare to your competitors. Do they have different prices from you? Is it higher or lower? Is that better that it's higher, or is it better that it's lower? What services are you able to offer versus your competitors? What kind of reviews do they have? This is something that's going on behind the scenes, unless somebody is like chomping at the bit, which a lot of people are when they're hiring a lawyer, but a lot of them aren't. They're going out there, they're doing that research, and they're doing it at the same time that you're nurturing this lead. And then you book a consultation. You're ready right at that moment when they've decided we're going to take you on. Make sure you get that consultation booked. Then they're a retained client, but you're still not even done then, because at that point you want to make sure that you're continuing to keep in touch with them so that they remember if they have a friend or a colleague or somebody, an acquaintance who needs the type of practice that you practice. They're going to be like, oh yeah, I remember that law firm. They're still sending me emails. They're still keeping in touch. They said happy birthday on my birthday. It seems so stupid, but people remember that and will remember you. And that is then an additional source of your marketing, in addition to the marketing that you're paying for, but it's marketing that you're not explicitly paying for. So you're sort of capitalizing on the clients that you've had already. So in between that marketing and nurturing, those marketing and nurturing cells, there's this very, very essential capturing phase. So you need to capture the name, email address, and phone number really of the person who's you've been marketing to and who's landed on your website or who has found your business in some way, so that you can nurture them, right? You can't send anybody an email if you don't know who they are. And, to be perfectly honest, which is, I think, a good thing, but you can't just capture somebody's information once they're on your website. You have to sort of put this separate thing into play. So there's, several different ways that you can capture new leads. We've got contact forms. Obviously you can put your email address on your website. People will find you via social media if you're active there, if you're advertising there. Google search results obviously is a big one in law. This is where a lot of people who don't have a referral source are looking for lawyers. Lead magnets, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Live website chat, which is a really great way to capture information from people who are pretty serious about hiring you on your website. They have to throw in their name and email in order to even have the conversation. So it's a good way to sort of at least capture that name and email. You can offer text messaging now. There's lots of different text messaging options, which I think is a really good offer for people who maybe don't want to use the phone, or maybe can't use the phone, but still want to like get in touch with you, start an engagement with you offline. So, I often recommend, if you want to, if you find, a source for that, even if you have like a billboard or something, give them a number that they can text. And then obviously on the phone, the main one, people are calling you. And, you need to be capturing that information. The key is to ask for the information. And seems like kind of a basic thing, but like the key thing to do in that first engagement is, especially if you've, gotten them this far and they're definitely interested, is on the phone, make sure you get their name and email address first. Get their phone number. Make sure that if anything drops off or anything happens, you definitely have that contact information no matter what. That's the number one thing, to just capture every lead that you possibly can. But people don't just want to call you or to contact you or whatever and have you say, okay, let me take your information and then I'll talk to you later. Chances are they want to know something now. They at least want to know, what's the process next? What should I expect to pay? What should I expect to do next? What's the time frame for this? They really want to get this off of their chest. That's why they're searching for the lawyer now. They want to get it off their chest. They don't need the consultation right now, but they need to have a plan, have a projected timeline for what's going to happen, and then in your particular practice area, they might have different questions like, what do I need to bring? I have like only this much budget. How much should I expect to pay up front? Blah, blah, blah. So, there's a couple of those frequently asked questions that you should be ready with the moment, you're grabbing that contact information. Make sure that, whoever it is that's taking the call, or, however it is that you're capturing that information, is targeted to them, which could be a call, but it could even just be a lead magnet, making sure that the people who are landing on that page have the information that is targeted to them, right? They need a divorce lawyer. You might have a couple of practice areas, but whoever needs the divorce lawyer should land on the divorce lawyer page. Build relationships and trust. If you say something's going to happen, make sure it happens. Set expectations properly so that you can live up to them. And then we always say, qualify your new leads at the very beginning. First step, make sure they're qualified. If you can't help them, don't waste any more time. Not that you're wasting time on somebody who needs help, but refer them out. Just let them know you don't want to waste their time either. So, make sure that you are qualifying your lead as fast as possible so that you can spend as much of your own time on the high quality leads that you can actually help and retain.
Kelsey, maybe can I just jump in here for one moment? So I think qualifying the leads, so critical, right? Like, because you're right. Like, why you as the busy attorney, or even someone in your office, why are you going to spend your time trying to chase or, set an appointment with someone who you simply can't help? So I always suggest doing a little bit of almost de-selling during, your marketing process. Explain very explicitly, be very specific on the types of cases that you handle, who you can help, and ask some qualifying questions on your inquiry forms or your, lead magnet request forms. Ask how immediate is your legal need. Ask questions that, help you kind of determine how severe their situation may or may not be. And obviously, you would know the qualifying questions that would kind of best determine if not only you're able to handle the type of case that they may have, but also helping you kind of prioritize the follow-up, the urgency, right? If someone is just browsing, maybe meeting with several attorneys, there's not much urgency, as opposed to someone who, is serious and needs to move now, they obviously, shoot to the top of your follow-up list. So I just wanted to, I totally agree with qualifying those leads, especially if you're investing in PPC or social advertising. You might be getting high volume of leads with a lower quality. There are some very easy steps that you can put into place to screen those folks without ever getting involved, without ever offering up your calendar link. And, if they do kind of get through to your office, which isn't a big deal. Like Kelsey said, have someone who another attorney who you can refer those folks out to. You're still helpful. You're still providing a high level of customer service, but in the end, you're focused on the prospects and the clients who you can truly help.
Absolutely. And, I think every single lawyer out there who hasn't just started in 2021 has had a client who actually was so difficult that it took away from their time and their energy, and they were less able to grow their practice in the long run. And so if you can sort of identify a question or two to ask that can help weed out the clients that not only you can't help, but that you don't want, that aren't your ideal clients. It might seem crazy to say no to business, but it's actually better for your business to say no to the choice people, especially if you're established, if you have a niche or anything like that. So it's something that we definitely recommend. At Smith.ai, we qualify all leads if we answer calls on behalf of your business, and it's just basically essential stuff in order to make more from your marketing, really. So think about the information that you need on that first call. Keep it short. Especially if somebody has already, and I'm talking mostly on like calls here, just from a virtual receptionist perspective, but this can be an intake form that you put on your website or contact form or anything like that. Make sure that you get the essentials only, so that person doesn't navigate away. Get the essentials only on the first call so that the person has had a good experience. They feel like, all right, I only had to answer a few questions. They're going to follow up with me. Nobody's time is wasted. And you're making sure, like, especially with a contact form, especially with the lead magnet form, that you are gathering what you need, right? Which is the email address and phone number and name, obviously, and then maybe some things that are essential to your practice, but also they're not navigating away because you've got a form with 85 questions on it that goes through all of their processes, which of course you can send them at a later date, but at this initial date, you really want to just capture the information that's crucial there. All right, now I'm going to talk about these lead magnets that I've been mentioning a bunch already. So lead magnet is a marketing term, but it's basically a piece of valuable information that your leads are paying for with their contact information. I would be surprised if anyone here hasn't hit one on either, Facebook ads often have them, people have them on their websites. I will go to the next slide really quickly, because Smith.ai has one. You can go to the Smith.ai website, and we have a super actionable workbook that you can use as a lawyer. And, you give us your name, your email address, your phone number, and then we are able to follow up with you if through the process of this workbook, you find that virtual receptionist services are going to be something that's really essential. So we're giving the information that's really valuable away in exchange for your contact information. And it's something that people are basically used to doing right now. If you have somebody who really wants that workbook, who really wants that information, maybe but really just does not want to be followed up with you, they can maybe put a fake email in, or they'll unsubscribe from your list, which is fine. You don't want to focus on those people anyway, right? They're unqualified leads. But you can also make sure that you're capturing those people where it's like, oh, they wanted this piece of information so much that they are, willing to basically pay for it with their email address. So they're not only invested in educating themselves about, how to further their business, or in the case of lawyers, they're educating themselves about what the process of going through a divorce is like, or what am I going to need as a checklist in order to go through this process? What should I even be looking for from a lawyer, right? I don't know. I've never hired a lawyer before. What's the information that I need in order to actually decide whether or not to hire a lawyer? And I don't know if Cara wants to dive into this. This is something that James is very, very, experienced with, but.
Oh, well, yeah. Kelsey, exactly. I agree 100%. A lead magnet Right. The whole point of a lead magnet, of sort of what we call gated content, in other words, content that's only delivered to your visitors in exchange for their contact information. The whole point of it is to deliver value to those visitors who aren't quite ready to book that consult. They're not quite ready to give you a call, right? So rather than those folks leaving without a trace, right? Maybe they even come and they read a blog post, they, navigate around your site a little bit. If you don't have this lead magnet, a booklet, a checklist, a quiz that you're offering in exchange for contact information, you would never know that they were there, right? So sometimes the biggest hurdle here is attorneys say, well, I don't have these assets. I don't have anything to offer. Well, just think about answering the most common questions that you get from your prospects and from your new clients, right? So more than likely, these folks are looking to gather more information, looking to get their questions answered. As Kelsey said earlier, they're likely going through a legal situation that they may know very little about. There's anxiety, of course, tied to that. They know very little about you as an attorney. So what can you do to remove that burden, from their plate, educate them, empower them with information. And in the end, you're the one that's conveying your caring through this content, right? You're the one that is providing value before they've ever even decided which attorney they're going to hire. And more than likely, these folks are meeting with several attorneys, right? And if you're the one who is providing follow-up content and answering many of their questions, lead magnets they're a proven, so widely used marketing tactic, but very few law firm websites that I visit actually employ lead magnets. So, I often get the question of, will lead magnets sort of distract from my visitors contacting my firm? Will it be a distraction? Well, that's a great point. But the whole point here is these folks aren't ready to give you a call right away, right? They need more information. So that's what we're really trying to take advantage of with these lead magnets. Obviously, our marketing amplifier system provides you with not only the materials, but also kind of the simple setup, the widget, the actual pop-up that you can add to your site as folks go to leave your site. Literally, they're going to X out of your site. At the last minute, an exit intent pop-up can appear saying, hey, here's a branded FAQ booklet, or, here's a quiz. I love the quiz. Something we've been experimenting with and quite successful with is, do I need a lawyer, right? Visitors going to your site, they not everyone does, right? So let's take a short quiz. It's a great qualifier. And then the key, which I know Kelsey will touch on, is following up, keeping in touch with these folks, right? Nurturing them along. So yeah, I'll hand it back.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, a couple more ideas if you're worried that you just don't have the content for this is there a way that you can educate people before you even get them in that consultation? Do you sit down with a checklist of things that you are going through in that initial consultation? Turn that into a lead magnet. Here is what you go through as a process in your initial consultations with lawyers in this practice area. Grab the information, and then once they're in that consultation, they decide to move forward, they already know. You're literally saving yourself time by giving them information, and this is not legal information. This is not advice. This is just a process that most of us don't know, but you do because you're the expert. And so you can sort of use that information that you're already educating them with and turn that into more education, but also this way to capture their information and follow up with them. And it's not annoying. A lot of people really want this. They do not want to have to think about following up or who was that or who had the list or whatever. Like, they really want you to take the initiative to follow up with them.
Yeah, Kelsey, to that point about, the objection of it being annoying, right? Or it being obtrusive. Typically, when we add lead magnets to our attorney subscribers' sites, we're increasing their conversion rate anywhere from 20 to 30% immediately. So meaning from the same website visitors that you're already getting, the same web traffic, same volume, we're able to set that many more appointments with those prospects from offering lead magnet and then nurturing them along in this educational drip sequence, you know, regularly serving up educational content. So I just wanted to be clear, this is a proven, there's no, you know, this isn't fluffy, right? This is a proven tactic that just so few attorneys take advantage of. It's, in my opinion, one of the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to your website and improving your conversion rate. So.
Absolutely. And I don't know about you, Cara, but I am lazy. And I always recommend, especially for lawyers who are so, you know, intelligent and educated and focusing their time on, you know, legal issues and really working hard for their clients, do not do any more work. Just don't. Unless you've already tried everything else, don't start doing more work. Don't start creating more content. Like I said, look for those opportunities where there's content that you already have, right? That you have, you know, hired an agency to create for you, that you have written yourself, and find the places where, you know, you can even test these things out and see whether a lead magnet would work or whether it's not valuable enough for people to actually, you know, give you their information for it. But just take a look at the content that you already have or the knowledge that you already have and see, again, where that real low hanging fruit is, in order to try this out and see if it's something that works for you without investing a bunch of time, a bunch of money, a bunch of resources in, you know, creating new content for this. Don't forget, this is about getting more leads from your, or converting more leads from your same marketing. So yeah, so like I said, you know, determine what's already useful in your content. Do you have a really great blog post that a lot of people see? Can you turn it into something that's more like an ebook or, you know, a resource, and throw that behind a lead magnet? That's probably a good place to start. Can you, like I said, enable your new leads with checklists that educate them? You know, a checklist that you're already doing in your consultation, just turn that into, you know, a kind of pretty little checklist that you can even put together on, I don't know, Google Form or Microsoft Word, and just, you know, edit it a tiny bit. And then that's something that's super useful for them. Can you take something, you know, this isn't for everyone because everyone's not comfortable in front of a camera, but can you literally take a blog post that's something that's really useful, record it in a video, you know, maybe it takes 10, 15 minutes, couple of practice tries, and then turn that into a video tutorial that you're putting behind that lead magnet. And, you know, take it from there. Ask your friends, ask anyone else, you know, what it is that they're doing that's useful, and see if you can find something that's easy, that's quick, that, you know, you can just ask whoever's doing your marketing if they can do this too, you know, and really not put too much work in it yourself, and find that you're just getting more leads, you know, more contact information from those people hitting your site. And then, sorry, accidentally sharing. It sounds like James Marketing Amplifier is able to put together some of these for you. I know that there are options on other websites. You know, definitely talk to whoever it is that put your website together, or Google something in order to get the actual technical side put together. But it's not like building a web page from scratch to put these things together. There are tools out there that are affordable and useful that you can use to actually create these, you know, physically from the content that you have. All right, let's talk about nurturing leads. So I talked about this a little bit more, but it's basically developing and reinforcing your relationships with these, you know, potential clients, which, if, you know, you've ever developed and nurtured a relationship, it's about setting expectations, it's about keeping in touch, and it's about following through on the things that you have said that you're going to do. So not every lead is going to be, you know, interested in booking that consult right away. That's what we've been talking about, you know, capture that information, follow up on them, and make sure, like Cara said, make sure that you follow up on them. Do not just have a spreadsheet with a bunch of email addresses. Don't just throw them in your newsletter. Put together an actual process where when somebody fills out a contact form, engages with your live website chat, calls your business, where however it is that they're contacting you, have a process in place to then follow up with people in a very useful way to them. Not just, hey, thanks for visiting our website, just so you know, we're still here. Or like, we're still lawyers, if you need a lawyer, still here we are. But really like building expectations, giving useful information, following up on a cadence, maybe a day later, maybe then a day after that, just making sure you're touching base on a regular basis in order to keep in touch with these people who weren't maybe necessarily the ones to hire you straight away, but who might be better clients because they're the ones who are educating themselves. And so when you do retain them, when you do bring them on, when you do book that consult, that's actually like somebody that's really, really a great client for your firm. Again, I'll go into this in a minute, but do not do this manually. Do not just get email addresses and then email people, or get, unless you have an actual salesperson on your team whose job it is to follow up with people. This is stuff that can really be automated, and the automation process does some of this really great qualification for you, where you're sending out emails on a cadence. And listen, if this person after, maybe 3 months of getting emails every once in a while is showing no interest, or if they unsubscribe from your list, that's not a potential client for you. They probably never were going to be, but you didn't spend any of that time, you didn't spend any time trying to bring them on as a client. And you were able to just sort of forget about the people who are never going to come on, but then the people who do engage and who are really excited and who are eventually ready to, hire you, they are the ones that are worth this entire process. And it might be a small percentage, but it's still worth it, especially as a law firm. One client is a make or break for a quarter, for the true growth of your business or not. And doing this nurture process, it even can make the difference in just that one client. The most popular way to nurture is through email. Increasingly, there are text message options where you can send texts out to people. I think that people are still a little bit annoyed by that. It's still, especially after the last election. I don't know if you guys got a million text messages like I did, but it's a good way to keep in touch, but it's not a great way to build the relationship in the way that you want it. Especially since if you're texting them, you want to make sure that you then continue to text them throughout the process of them being your client. But if that's something that you have in place, it's a great way to nurture. And then you can do some retargeting as well, which I don't see a lot of law firms doing it, but this could be something that makes the difference for your firm. Retargeting is a fairly affordable way of advertising, through Google Ads, I think mostly is how people do it, but email is the main way to do it. Just make sure that you're doing a little bit of research before you put together this campaign, just so that it's not really, really annoying. And so that it's legal in a way where people can actually unsubscribe from your list, which is actually a law that's out there for this. So here is my starter nurture. And Cara might have a much better process for this. I'm not sure, but this is, if you have never done a nurture campaign, then I think this is where to start. Just start with 3. Don't do a million, start and iterate, look at stats. All of these programs that you can set up these through will give you stats, and you can see if people are dropping off at a certain point, or whether you want to do, certain things at a certain point. But the first email I would send out probably an hour after you get the contact information, maybe not straight away. I like that sort of hour period, but there's some, different information out there. So whatever you think might be good for your practice and for your clients. More information. Do you have a video? Do you have a story about your firm? Do you have a specialty? Is there something that they might want to know about your practice, your firm, that they might not have gotten from just landing on your website or seeing that one resource, or, you know, calling you up from a referral? Can you give them more information on why it is that you are the best lawyer to hire for this particular client? I would say then just wait a day and then give them an offer. Do you have a sort of discount code? Do you have a pitch? Do you have a, this month we're doing this? You know, if you are looking for the, even in, you know, I know not a lot of law firms do sort of promo codes or anything like that, although you might, but do you have a time constraint that you can sort of pitch at them, right? This is how long it takes for this paperwork to be filed. So if you want it done by May 14th, you need to get it in by this date. And you can actually configure these dates so that you don't have to manually do them, but you know, you could just say, here's a time constraint. Here's why you should do this now instead of tomorrow. And then the third follow-up, if you're just setting up this initial nurture campaign, is what's next steps? You know, if you are looking to bring us on, the next step might be book a consultation. Here's our schedule for consultations. Don't worry, you don't have to book a consultation for today, but it will be for next week. You know, here's the information that you're going to need to put together before, or a contact form that you're going to need to fill out before our consultation. This is what you're going to have to expect to pay. You know, this is what you are maybe are going to be looking at for the next month in terms of what our process is going to be like. So you're really enabling people with this information and nurturing them at the same time, and you're pitching them. You know, you are letting them know it's time. It's time to hire me right now. You know, no more dilly-dallying. And I think this is a really good start to just do 3 days of this. If you get into it, you get into it. You know, you can then set up things for longer throughout an entire week. You can build in calls if you've got somebody to make outgoing calls for you, or if you'd like your Smith.ai receptionists to make outgoing calls for you, you can build that in. But this is a good place to get started nurturing if you're not already doing that. Now, I don't talk a lot in this presentation about specific software. But there is lots of very affordable, if not like free, depending on your audience, software out there that you can set up these campaigns in. Some of it is a little bit easier to use. You know, you might want to decide to do something like this, put together the content, and then hire somebody, either if you have an agency or an Upwork, or I don't know if James Amplifier has resources for that as well. But there is software out there, and I just don't really touch on any of the specific ones. You can also email me. I've got some recommendations as well. Did you want to speak to that, Cara?
Yeah, just briefly. So first, I love your kind of simplistic approach to the setting up the nurturing campaigns, especially, you know, if you're doing this yourself and you're starting from scratch. That's definitely the biggest sort of hurdle that I hear is where do I start? You know, how much time is this going to take me? You know, you have pressing client matters that always, you know, take priority. So start simply. I agree with Kelsey there. Again, you know, when you sit down and think about, well, what do I write about? Answer those questions that you get all the time. Ideally, each question could be a separate email in an ever-growing sequence. Because think about it, most of this is pretty evergreen, meaning you write it once and you can really use these series with maybe some minor tweaks for years. So don't let, you know, the fact that you're kind of starting from scratch hold you back, because really, you know, to start and to stand out and to do more than what most attorneys are doing, all you have to do is get, you know, 2 or 3 emails kind of automated, you know, using MailChimp, Constant Contact. Your practice management or CRM system more than likely has an auto drip sequence feature, meaning where you can set up these emails to automatically, you know, be triggered and be sent without your, you know, any action really taken on your part. So just start small. I mean, as part of our marketing amplifier system, we include 6 months of content, you know, and really comprehensive drip campaigns, but just start somewhere. That's where I really highly recommend getting the content out there and setting it up. It's a one-time setup, and you can automatically filter all of your prospects through these campaigns.
Yeah, and just one other thing to pay attention to when you're setting up these automations is to make sure, when I went through that list earlier of contact forms, email, phone, website chat, lead magnet, all of those places, make sure that every single one of those places is having that information logged into that email platform. So that's something that, like Cara said, if you've got it in your CRM, if you're using MailChimp, if you're using ActiveCampaign, if you're using any of these platforms, often there are, some integrations with your existing systems, or there's this wonderful thing called Zapier. Zapier is a program that connects other apps together. So if you have your Smith.ai virtual receptionist picking up the phone for you and collecting that information, you can have that information sent to Zapier, and then you set up just a simple process where that information then goes all the way along to your email software. Once it hits that software, or your CRM, or however you have this set up, you can set that process up to then trigger that first email. So you, at this point, you haven't even heard of this person, right? Your Smith.ai receptionist picked up the call, they qualified the person, you probably got an email if that happened, but then that person's contact information was sent to Zapier, and Zapier can even do things like delay it by an hour. Or the email softwares themselves actually can do that as well. And then it hits your software, and then that person has gotten an email. So you're already nurturing somebody that you're still working. You are putting together paperwork, you are doing consultations, you're doing stuff that makes you actual money, and this stuff is happening in the background. And that's what's truly, truly powerful about it. And it is fairly easy. And if it's not something that you're interested in trying out yourself, you can hire people to set up these processes for you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too, Kelsey. I mean, if it does sound like too much, even just, a time commitment that you just don't have, reach out to me, reach out to Kelsey. We'll help you. We'll help you with this. We can really, hold your hand through this. And again, once it's set up, it will really pay dividends for years.
Totally. Yeah. And think about your own hourly rate. If this is taking 2 hours or 3 hours of your time, might not be worth it, so find somebody, reach out to us, or you can even find, automation experts who do this for a fairly affordable hourly fee and can maintain them as well. I'm gonna rush through this a little bit just because I know we want to do some questions at the end, but I just can't emphasize enough that once somebody is ready to retain you, make sure that you are 100% responsive to them. Pick up the phone when they call 24/7. If you've got somebody in-house picking up the phone, get an answering service for after hours, for weekends. Make sure that once that person's ready to give you the money, you have them on the line. Make sure that you are completely responsive to them when the time is ready for them to book that consultation. Respond immediately, even if it's through email. So set up some of these processes for if somebody is ready, and Cara was mentioning this earlier, if they're filling out your contact form and they're ready to go right now, make sure that you've got an automated email that says, hey, we got your email. I'm sure everybody's got one of these. Hey, we got your email. It's going to take us about this amount of time to get back to you. And then you can even have those emails sent to your call answering service like Smith.ai, have them do an outbound call, get that consultation booked. Make sure that you've got the answers to the questions that they need. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but they're going to have questions. Make sure you've got those questions so that you can move this process forward. You do not want to delay because somebody wants to know, whether you are able to do an evening consultation, or what your consultation price is, or whether you practice in their area or anything like that. Make sure that that's the information that you can give straight away. Qualify new leads immediately. We went over that. Be ready to book consultations. Now there's some great software out there that I use constantly, that lots of lawyers are using to book consultations completely securely, no matter where you are. like Calendly. I think Client Rock is coming out with something that's specific to lawyers, and you just are given they're given a schedule, and they pick a time that works. It books it on your calendar. You don't have to ever be in the room for this conversation, and the consultation gets booked. So make sure that that's available readily, and then have that follow-up plan. Make sure that they are then getting an email that says, fill out this form, have this information ready. This is what I need from you. This is what's going to happen, and have that process set up as well. And then the last thing, that I'll go over is really quickly, what are you going to do? I've mentioned this throughout the webinar. What are you going to do? What can you automate? And what are you outsourcing? Outsourcing could include, creating that lead magnet content, or using the content that you already have and manipulating it and designing it a little bit differently. It could be setting up these cadences. It could be, figuring out Zapier for you. What is it that you're going to outsource? Or, your receptionist services, live chat, obviously, especially for small businesses. You don't have time to be on that live chat all of the time. So what is it that you can automate? Whatever you can't automate, but don't want to do yourself, you outsource. What are the things that are essential for you to be doing? Try to only do those things, whether managing the process is one of those, but also having the consultations, actually doing the legal work, that's essential for you to be doing, but try not to spend too much of your time on this other stuff. And if anything doesn't make it on this list, maybe just stop doing it. I stop doing things all the time, and it makes my life so much better, because I'll find that I was just doing it out of habit, but it's not actually improving my work quality. It's not, especially for small business owners, like, it's not making you more money. It's not making you happier. It's wasting time. So, don't be afraid to streamline there. Smith.ai, I'll go over it really quickly again, in case you don't know. A virtual receptionist service. We're 24/7 for calls, chats. We can answer your Facebook business messages and answer text messages to your business as well. Those are normally like you give out a number and their leads texting in with questions. We do lead qualification, basic intake for new leads, booking of those consultations, accepting payments. We integrate with a bunch of CRMs in the legal field, but also Zapier, which opens up your options significantly. And then, our service is very customized. So it's really, we try as hard as possible to sound like we're in-house with you. And if you do decide to get started, you can use the code James Publishing for $100 off your first month. You can try us out for 14 days. Risk-free. We have a money-back guarantee as well. So yeah, I think that's my presentation. I don't know if you wanted to mention anything else, Cara, before we get started on some questions.
Yeah, great information. Thanks, Kelsey. Can you tell people how they can contact you, or get into what's the best way to kind of get in touch?
Yeah, absolutely. My email address is kelsey@smith.ai. Our website is Smith.ai. If you want to know a little bit more about how much your services may cost through us, just go to Smith.ai and you can book a 15-minute consultation with our team. They'll go over your specific case, what it is that it's going to look like for you specifically, or you can just go ahead and get started and get booked on an onboarding calendar and move forward with that. I'm also on LinkedIn, /in/Kelsey Linnea. Linnea is my middle name. And I'm on Twitter as well at Kelsey Colorado. We mentioned that at the top of the hour. Not a ton of stuff going on my Twitter, but if you are on Twitter and you want to connect, feel free to connect with me there.
Excellent. I just dropped both of our email addresses actually into the chat, so feel free to reach out. So, okay, we're gonna conduct a brief Q&A. So continue to drop your questions either in the chat or in the Q&A section of Zoom. So, Kelsey, Ruben asks, which form of contact in your experience is most effective? Phone, email, text, video call? Maybe you can touch on that.
Yeah, so with regard to incoming leads, it's really essential to sort of be available on all of the forms of contact. I think that still largely the main one is phone. Most people, especially if they're already ready to hire on a lawyer, they're calling your business. But I think, and I really believe that having a response available for every single way that somebody is contacting you, and a sort of immediate and valuable response, is truly the way to capture more of those leads and convert more of those leads from your marketing without spending more on marketing. So that's where you're picking up, onesie twosies here and there, but it adds up in the long run. And again, if one of those people turns into a paying client, that can be pretty significant for a firm.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think they each kind of have their place, right? Those leads that, explain or even just say that they're ready to sign, right? They're further along that funnel. Jump on a call, jump on a Zoom with them as soon as you can. I mean, within 15 minutes, there's a lot of research on this, right? Within 15 minutes, if you're able to respond to that lead, you're much more likely to get a hold of them, get in touch with them at all. Obviously, really great reasons to employ Smith.ai as well. Text, Kelsey really touched on this in the presentation. I mean, texts are highly read, right? We read 95% of our text messages, but you need to be really careful not to, people will unsubscribe really quickly, right? You don't want to annoy. We found that texts are most effective for appointment reminders or, short follow-ups. You're keeping those messages concise. Obviously, they're pretty short. So as far as, providing educational and nurturing materials, that's definitely email as opposed to text. So I think, each of those mediums kind of.
Yeah. Or if you're going to do if you're going to do text on an outbound basis, like after somebody fills out a lead magnet, just do the one. And then, you can then they have your number in their phone, but you're not doing that sort of nurture, that follow-up via text. You can just say, hey, just so you know, we got your information. Here's what to do next, or here's a link to learn more, or anything like that.
Yep. This was a question that came in beforehand. It says, I'm a solo firm. How do I automate the lead follow-up? I think we touched on this pretty in depth. So if you have any other questions on that, reach out. But I think Kelsey really outlined that pretty well in the presentation.
Yeah, it's a big topic. I will just say, let's say that you do have Smith.ai answering your calls, or you can actually do this if you're answering your own calls, but you're able to have like a contact form right in front of you, even just a Google form. What you do is you take that information and you send it to Zapier. So you set up the Zap, go to Zapier, connect, Google Forms or Smith.ai or, whatever else it is that you're using. And then you can send that to the email platform. So that getting that first process, even just one of them into place, and practicing that, you'll see your options begin to expand from there.
Good. Robert asks, you mentioned budget. The client's budget for retaining or providing price ranges from the firm. I'm not sure I totally, that was probably referring to something specific that we were speaking on at the time. I'm not sure, Kelsey, if you're able to.
Well, if you're talking about budget qualification, which I think is something that's important to talk about and that not a lot of people want to talk about, there are certain people who are able to and willing to pay your fees and people who aren't. And that is a really great way to qualify on the offset. There's a couple ways you can do that. You can actually add that to a form. What is your budget for this? Or charge for an initial consultation. And if they're not willing to, pay your $250 consultation initially, then maybe they're not going to be serious about paying your retainer in the long run. So I would look towards that lead qualification. If that's what you're talking about, I would look towards that lead qualification process really early on and get that budget conversation out there in the open early so that you know who it is that's serious enough to be willing to pay your prices.
I agree. Leon has a question about Yelp. So he asks about following up with Yelp inquiries, which I have heard from other attorneys, definitely takes time because it is a manual process. It sounds like he's not really, getting much traction there. So Yelp is a kind of a unique beast in this way. You don't gain contact information, right, from these folks. So unless you're able to respond and request an email address or other contact information, unfortunately, and this is obviously, Yelp is very strategic in this way. They want you to stay on their platform, right? They want you to stay communicating within the Yelp platform. But, I would recommend, offering a lead magnet, something to get that direct email address or contact info. So then you can kind of move those folks over to your automated drip sequences. As far as the initial back and forth, there's not a ton of automated options. Kelsey, I don't know if you had anything to add there, but
no, we should probably put it on our list at Smith.ai to start answering Yelp messages. I know that we are expanding into some of those places, increasingly. Right now, I'd say run the numbers. If what you're spending on Yelp, including your time, isn't adding up, then maybe it's not the best place to be, doing that additional advertising. You can also, if you have a free listing on Yelp, you could try to put in your description, contact us here, hit up our website and engage with our live chat. It's not ideal, obviously, but we're looking to make money in the long run. And so if manually going through and answering all your Yelp messages isn't turning into enough clients, then, that might be something that obviously Smith.ai should put on our list to start answering those messages for you. But until that point, weigh your options and make sure that you're not wasting your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Kelsey, well, we're hitting our hour mark. So I think this is a good time to cut it. But thank you so much for your insight. You provided some really great practical tips. Everyone will receive the recording as well as a free ebook from us. So that will go out automatically later today. Please reach out either to Kelsey or myself with any questions. We love talking about this stuff. So feel free to reach out, and thanks for joining us, and join us next time.
Yeah, thank you so much. And don't forget, start small. Don't jump in the deep end.
That's it. That's right.
Thanks, Kara.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.